Good morning. Another day, and this is my 101st video. I guess I'll stop counting now until we get to the 200th. But what a milestone it's been. I've done this throughout the pandemic and started a little before the pandemic. And who knew that after 100 videos, I'd still be encountering villains and chemo. But the villains aren't who you think, and the chemo is surmountable with little ideas that work from my nutritionist. I don't know if you're experiencing the same as I am, but I have a vice-like feeling lots of times where I feel that my insides are being crushed. Sometimes it's because I've overindulged on food, and so I am now extremely mindful of how much I eat, when I eat, and what I eat. Not going back to baby food, like I said. I eat really good food. I had broccoli with Parmesan, and I had flank steak, well done and extremely tender. I made a soup out of cabbage and short ribs and potatoes and beans and plantains. I am eating well. Today I introduced granola into my morning yogurt, and I've eaten a small lemon tart. The taste is for my brain, and it makes me so much happier. So you can do it too. Meditate. And also, don't forget, if you're eating large meals, do take Beano. And if you're prone to indigestion of any sort, hyper refluxes, whatever, this works too, Pepsid. And it's really a wonder drug. It works in a matter of minutes. And also, with the vice-like feeling, I now feel a little like a prune all over. And so I'm using this moisturizing lotion on my legs, and I don't know where you may need it, but if you've got the same feeling that you're now being like a grape that's ready to be harvested and everyone's stomping on you, well, meditation, mindfulness training, whatever works, laying on your side, whatever. But you can lessen the discomfort. So that's really my message about chemo. I'm 1 week out from my third infusion and fairly confident it's it. And I'll know for sure between now and the 15th of November. So God bless you. I'm happy to be here. And let's talk about our society. That is really something that has bothered me since I started blogging and writing emails back in 2007 and got a formal blog site in 2012. I have felt all along we need a third party. There was no two-party system when our founders founded this republic. No siree, it was the Republican Democratic Party. Were there crooks and thieves then? You bet. I remember reading about Abraham Lincoln, and they were busy trying to buy off the crooks and thieves so that they could get the Emancipation Proclamation made into law before they ended the Civil War. So there's always been crooks and thieves, but it's never been to the extent that it is today. When they say dirty dozen in The Guardian, they're not talking about we the people, not even a little. We've got lobbyists. There used to be, maybe in the 90s, 500. There's over 1,500. And they buy PR. And they buy PR and misinformation because they do not want the rest of us, the 70% of us, to actually think and look at each other as fellow citizens. No siree. They like the division and they're paying for it. On The Guardian, who did the analysis of what's happening on the social media platforms like Facebook, you're getting ExxonMobil funding different news sites. You've got Breitbart News with Steve Bannon. You've got Newsmax. You've got the Washington Times. You've got the Heritage Foundation funding some of these folks. But basically, the three polluters are really the people who are behind climate denial. And they'd like you to think that it's somebody next to you who's leaning a little to the right. Not true, folks. It's Exxon, it's Chevron, and truth be told, it's also Toyota. Who would have guessed Toyota had a vested interest in keeping gas and fossil fuels alive? So it's no wonder the president's plan for infrastructure is an uphill battle. The big money doesn't want infrastructure bills. Why would they want it? It gives jobs to so many. It gives alternatives to thinking about energy. And what do we really need to power our world? It's not what Russia thinks, which is using isotopes on a smaller scale to power homes. No siree. There are fourth, fifth, and fusion energy plans in the works that will be not using non-decaying isotopes that will be harmful to us. They're using natrium salts, like I said. They're trying thorium, and they're going to get somewhere with fusion. I have no doubt. What's unfortunate about these billionaires and the multi-wealthy millionaires is they lack vision. They don't seem to understand that if we tackled climate crises the way we went to World War II, they'd probably make even more money than they're making today on fossil fuels, because it takes research and development to get to new energy platforms. When I think that Facebook has changed their name to Meta, as in Metaverse and metadata, that to me is a travesty. They're not hiding from anyone. They're the same evil company. They can be reined in, since it's only 10, 12 individuals who are perpetuating and perpetrating misinformation, denial of climate, not allowing scientists to be heard, and also giving you bad election advice, giving you advice that is also detrimental to your health on the COVID vaccines. Well, just a small handful of folks a small handful of folks who have a lot of money, and they can buy anything. Local politicians, state politicians, federal politicians. It used to be when a lobbyist spent $1 on a politician in Washington, they got $127 back. I bet you now they get much more. Plus, a lot of the politicians are independently wealthy. They don't have a vested interest in helping we the people. Why do you think they invest in mega yachts and they hide out in different countries away from America? Or they're busy developing SpaceX and different engines so they can get themselves off the earth? Because after they've plundered the earth, they don't want to be here when we suffer, unless they've built a civilization underground for generations to come when it'll be safe for them to re-enter our atmosphere. The quicker you learn that it's money that's corrupting our government and our democracy and our way of life, the quicker we can get on with governing in a decent manner. Do we need a third party at this point? You bet. We need a third party that's for the people, by the people, without tremendous moneyed interests. Because the money will come in. That I'm sure. But we need to be able to say, no, this is what's good for the country. And every time somebody gets into office, they ought to be able to make a pledge, not only to uphold the Constitution, but to do what's right for we the people, so that we're not suffering, that we're not paying $1,200 a month for child care. And sometimes that child care doesn't even exist in the neighborhoods where poor people reside. So no matter what they do, they don't have the means, the transportation to get anywhere. And without transportation, you can't work. I was in the hub zones in Detroit, which are really a joke, because Detroit could come up with jobs for people. What they couldn't come up with was transportation to those jobs. That's the limiting factor. So do we need infrastructure? You bet we need infrastructure. Do we need child care? You bet we need child care and pre-K and paid leave for maternity. I remember folks in the 70s trying to get paid maternity leave. They weren't successful then, but this is 50 years later, and the rest of the OECD countries, they've got it. Just like child care costs maybe 10% of your salary. That's it. A couple of $100 a month, and you can leave that child for an entire day. Not just 9 o'clock, but if you've got to work at 6, you can pick them up again at 6 as well, and know that that child is well taken care of. So there's a lot we can do, and I am sure that if people are as decent as I think they really are, and as knowledgeable as I think they really are too, they'll understand that they're being hoodwinked and that this is no way to run our country or any country. It can't be run by self-interest groups because they don't really care about you or me. And it's evident. Otherwise, the bills that have been proposed would be passed in whole. And we don't have to worry either about debt. That's a myth. Corporations borrow money all the time. The plans that are in Congress are over 10 years long. $30 million extra it would cost us. But the benefits to society would be enormous. And we wouldn't have to worry about inflation either. That's man-made, along with the supply chains, which are not just unusual to our country. This is a global phenomenon. Everyone is suffering from supply chain problems. Well, I went on websites recently. Doesn't look like there's any shortage of anything. I wanted plantains. I can get plantains from Fresh Direct. I needed some other produce. I can get it from no less than 6 different websites, since I'm not allowed to go indoors. So we'll cope. In the short term, yeah, it'll be rocky. But if people do in government what's right for Americans, is to give us a living wage, benefits, and schooling that's equivalent for all people. Because we know education is the key to going up that ladder of success. If you've got a good start, you don't have to worry where you come from. I listened recently to a young man by the name of Marcelito from the Philippines, and I thought he had one of the most amazing voices. And I would urge you to listen to him too, because he has a beautiful song out called The Prayer. I understand it's old, and just like my hats that I'm resurrecting, they may be old, but they're new to me once again. So enjoy, because we don't have to be nihilistic. What we have to be is active, informed, and involved in our democracy. It belongs to all of us. So take care, everybody. Every day I'm with you is a blessing. Every day that I can record, I'm happy to do so. It gives me a reason to dress up and be myself. So have a great day, everyone, and see you next week. Bye now, and take care.